Good evening, listeners. Welcome to another evening of Straight Talk here at West Coast Radio 92.1. Let me maybe first give you the number to call, because sometimes I have had complaints that we don't normally give the number frequently. So the number to call is 446-1193, but we will inform you when the lines are open, 446-1193. This evening we are happy that our brother, I don't know whether to call him a semester, but it's good to have you back, Nyan. I'm sure the listeners out there miss you a great deal, even though we've tried to connect with you, but technology has not done us a lot of justice, but it's good to have you back.
Well, technology has done us justice. Gambian internet didn't do you justice, because the technology for me to connect is available, but the proper bandwidth hasn't been made available. So
Gambian connectivity then.
Thank you so much.
It's not fault. But it's good to have you back. A lot has been happening in our country, a lot to talk about, a lot of issues coming up, the reform process. I have had some engagements with people in the security sector, and it's interesting that possibly there are things that are working, but I'm sure we still have a lot more to do. And maybe to start, we want to talk about reforms and what we can do as a people, but just to set the ball rolling, we learned about the unfortunate fire incident at the Canifing Industrial Estate. Industrial Estate. That was quite unfortunate, but again, it is something that we need a good look at, we need a rethink, and to see how we as a people, we as a country, can ensure that these things never happen again. Well, just to set the ball rolling, Jan, just I saw something you wrote on your Facebook page about the fire incident. Just your thoughts, and where are we missing it? What do you think has gone wrong? I know the president said there is going to be a commission of inquiry, but as citizens we must be able to discuss and see how we can contribute to mitigate against such unfortunate incidents.
Thank you so much, and thank you, listeners. I'm happy to be back, but I think we as Gambians, we're at a crossroads, and the crossroads are we're at a point where we need to agree whether we want to be a modern nation state or we want to continue the village mentality that we have. If you look at Canifing Industrial Estate, it was demarcated to be an industrial zone to support light and medium scale manufacturing. But unfortunately, Canifing Industrial Estate has turned into a warehouse, meaning 80% of the properties that were given out to people to do light manufacturing and medium manufacturing, they have built warehousing there. So what has that done? People with stocks, you have to understand, Gambia is an import-driven economy. A lot of people import stocks. Their stocks are now being warehoused at an industrial zone that was meant for light manufacturing. Equally, our traffic laws, if properly adhered to, most of the cars that burnt at Canifing would not have burnt because those cars were derelict on the streets, not inside the property that the fire happened. I mean, if you look at the photos, the cars are all lined up in the streets. We have turned our country to a mediocre country where anything and everything goes, and what obtains is bad practice. So what can we learn from this fire? 3 things. I think the firemen did well under the prevailing circumstances, the equipment that they had to work with. So we need more fire hydrants. We need more fire trucks. We also need to do serious simulations of mega magnitudes. Imagine Gambia having we can even say an earthquake may not happen here, but what if? That what if scenario, I think that should be the mindset of our rescue operations going forward. We need to simulate things that we never imagined in a catastrophic manner to happen. Periodically, the fire service must be doing practice and simulations and tests, and also involve the community, whereby we have fire alarms all over town. So once, twice, 3 times a year, we have major drills where everything comes to a standstill. I think when these things happen, the country needs to learn. But we, as a people, need to up our game. I'm sorry, Gambia is not ready to be counted in the modern world.
But again, what do you have to say about putting precautionary measures in place? A lot of buildings, a lot of public places in this country don't have even fire extinguishers. We don't have exits in case of emergency. Our buildings are such that they are almost death traps. You see story buildings that has maybe one entrance. There is nothing like if there is an emergency, what happens? You go to some countries, they will tell you, some hotels, some public places, that this is it. If in case of emergency, this is what needs to be done. But in Gambia, I don't know how many places you will go to and see that.
Truth be told, I always tell people that our grandparents did a better job managing their Gambia than we did. I remember growing up, there was building control.
Okay.
Building control, even if you want to do a soakaway in your house, you need to get a permit, and there's a design that you need to use. And all this was done to make sure that people comply and conform to standards. But now, we live in a country of mediocrity, and I'm sorry, we have to call a spade a spade. Gambia is a country of mediocrity. We have put aside standards. We really don't care about standards, and all we care about is nothing. So Gambia cannot transform into a modern state because the mindset of the Gambian, you look at Kairaba Avenue, when you turn, the people selling vegetables, they all have electric meters given to them by NAWEC, and those things are shags. It's just carton, card box, wood, and corrugate. How on earth will NAWEC be giving public electric meters to squatters? Those people are squatting. Something needs to be done in this country, and it's called standards. But people cannot have standards if they want to operate within a mediocre environment, and mediocrity is the evil that's going to deter the progress of this country.
And what would be the factors that are contributing to this mediocrity? Looking at it from a point of impatience and Gambians just wanting to have a shortcut, an easy way out, rather than going through due process. Sometimes, one of these days, or it was today, I was in traffic, and if you see the impatience of drivers, and it almost caused an accident, and I was asking, has our impatience with government or translated into our impatience with one another or impatience in traffic? There are so many accidents happening. What are these things that are pushing or catalysts to mediocrity?
The outlook of any country is the reflection of the very people who live in the country. Gambia is a product of Gambians, and the outcomes that we see is a product of who we are as a people. Our cleanliness. I mean, I made reference the other day to Bruford Heights, that the cheapest property in Bruford Heights, just an empty plot, it's about $2 million. By the time you build it, you're talking about $7 to $9 million. You just walk outside of those properties, you see a road that is so deplorable that the people who live there cannot even put stones to make sure that they have an easy access, especially during the rains. One. The filth that we see in this country is a reflection of us, the people. This is our standard. This is who we are. If we want that to change, we need to change. Then when we go to public offices, I'm sorry to say, once again, I have to say it, most people are not fit for purpose because they came in through the back door. They didn't come in there through merit, but they came in through lobbying. So they are not ready to handle most of the positions that they are manning. Therefore, I used to have a professor in school that said, you cannot make chicken salad out of chicken waste. I don't want to use the other word, but he said you cannot make a chicken salad out of chicken waste. So the problem is most people manning offices here are not fit for purpose. So what do you get is what we have right now, a country that is not only stagnated in terms of prosperity, a country that doesn't have a global outlook. Global outlook means best practices and global standards. Filth is something we are happy to live with. Plastic all over, water bottles, dirt. That's who we are.
But we've seen countries transform where generally the people were mediocre, the people had certain values as it were, or non-values, but you saw a leadership come in, and the leadership brought in some kind of sanity, some amount of cleansing of the nation and the mindset, and put in place some forms of excellence in service delivery, excellence in a lot of things, rather than a mediocre mindset.
Once again, the leaders that manage any country are part of the very people who live in that country. We are our leaders, and our leaders are a reflection of who we are. The Gambian attitude, mindset, and psyche, that's what is sick. And that's what we need to change, because the enabling that's been happening here for the past 25, 26 years, it's not done by few. It's a cultural phenomenon, and that's what we need to change. Our Supreme Islamic Councils, our organizations, our imams, the people that we look up to in this society are the very people who are sick, and those are the people who preach to us in our congregation. So what do we expect? The flock and the shepherd are all sick.
But if you, with what you're saying, it's almost like we're a doomed nation, we're a doomed generation. Because I want to always try to be optimistic about Gambia. I'm passionate about where we will get to ultimately. I don't know how, but it's difficult to see light at the end of the tunnel. But you would also agree that sometimes, not sometimes, but leadership has a big role to play. Take for instance, what happened in Rwanda. We keep talking about Rwanda because...
But Kagame didn't do it alone.
But he didn't do it alone, but he's from Rwanda.
We are not a failed nation, we are a failed generation, because our grandparents and our parents did an exceptional job in managing a country without nothing. We are more endowed today than we were in 1970, going to 65. We are more educated in aggregate terms today than then. But how come are we poorer today, both in terms of value and in wealth? Because we are mediocre people. And that has nothing to do with the leadership. It has something to do with society collectively. So if we want to make a difference, we need to start at the homes and the schools. It's the homes and the schools that create great leaders. Great leaders just don't emerge out of the blues. So what do we need? We need to reconfigure the Gambian mindset. We need to reconfigure and reposition who the Gambian is and what do we want as a people. What do we want? Do we know what we want?
Yeah, but are you now saying that if a leader came into the scene that says from now on, this is where we are going to as a nation, no more mediocrity in public service, now everything would be strictly by merit and not by connection, where there is zero tolerance to corruption, people will have to work and deliver in order to be accepted, in order to be rewarded. If we have that manner of leadership, don't you think something would give? Because there is we have a lot of laws, but implementing the law is a problem.
Leadership is just to inspire people.
Yeah, but can't we have a leadership?
Collectively, it's the critical mass that brings about transformation and change. But the critical mass of Gambians today, not only are they happy with the predicament they find themselves in, but they perpetuate the predicament that is so stifling to their development. So as a people, what do we want? Do we know what we want collectively as Gambians? Are we trained to understand that as a country we need what you call a Gambian ideal? What do we collectively represent? What do we collectively identify with? Where do we want to collectively go? It's not only the leadership, schools and homes. And our schools and homes have failed us, this generation of Gambians.
But can't we have a leadership that will inspire this and set the ideals? This is where we want to go to.
But that leadership is not political. That's what it's more religious and social. Okay. You know why? It's the schools and the homes and the churches and the mosque. That is the product that has created the new Gambian, and the new Gambian is sick. So if we want to change the new Gambian, we need to go back to schools, homes and mosques. The president is a product of us. So if he stands out to be excellent and we are not excellent, or we are not striving for excellence, how is he going to change it? So collectively, society...
He can put in measures to help regulate.
Leadership is not political alone.
Yeah, I agree.
There is political leadership, but I equally believe there is social leadership and religious leadership. And those are the areas that have failed in this country. Our imams, I'm sorry, I have to call a spade a spade. The imams in this country are not worth their salt, and they are part of the problem where Gambia finds itself today. So if we want to change, let's go back to the minbar and tell those imams to be what we expect of a righteous shepherd who should usher a flock, we the people. Then, when it comes to our leadership, we can have something. The schools and the homes equally. So, sometimes I would like to cut a slack to the political leadership because they are who we are. They suffer the same fate that me and you suffer collectively as Gambians. So, what's going to change us is our social, religious dynamics.
What do you say about changing the Gambia one person at a time? Let me give you an example. Mia, you speak eloquently. When you dress tops. I mean, but you, as you said, Gambians will say, you know, but that is not going to help. But you maintain your levels of excellence. You don't compromise. So there is also hope that we could change this country one person at a time. If you can inspire 5 people, and other people can inspire, and other people inspire, then obviously change should be able to come in.
Well, for change to really take root, you need what you call a critical mass.
Yeah, but
critical
you can
mass.
Start from a drop.
No, those are called the champions and agents of change.
Okay.
But champions and agents of change need an environment where they can inspire a critical mass. And it's not the presidents who do that. It's the pastors, the imams, the teachers. But the teachers here are so frustrated because the environment is not conducive. Home, people are worrying about cash power dapas to the point parenting is no longer. Our society has broken down. So we need salvation, and that salvation will only come if we start looking inward as a people and give back responsibilities to our imams, our pastors, our teachers, our parents. Then we will have good leaders and we can have more expectations from our political leaders. But our political leaders of today are a product of the very society we live in. And this society, I'm sorry to say, is sick.
But yeah, let's look at this. I can take you as an example because I know to a large extent what you stand for. I know sometimes people say all kinds of things, but you keep doing what you're doing. You keep on the path of, trying to do things excellently, notwithstanding the environment. So now you're talking about leadership inspires. Why is it that our leaders, in spite of what they have been taught, what the mediocre things that they've learned, but now you come into leadership, you decide that I must do well for my country and by my country?
Well, you have made a presumption. The presumption is that they are coming into leadership to inspire, they're coming into leadership to transform. But if you live in a cultured environment where leadership is for you to come and better yourself, that becomes the norm. That's why I said the problem is society, not the political class are an outcome. They're a product of the very society they live in. It's our society that is sick and is our society that needs rehabilitation and reconstruction. So Gambians need to first deconstruct the current mindset of what a Gambian is and create a new ideal of what a Gambian ought to be. Then the homes will be what the home of your grandfather was. Then the school will be the school that was like your grandfather's school. That is what we have lost. And we have lost a generation of Gambians. So what we can do is to go back to the bottom and build a new Gambian. And let's have hope on the next generation. But you and me, our generation, I'm sorry, there's not much we can transfer to the next generation that will be positive in contributing. I'm not a doom guy, but I don't see much in what we have to offer.
You know, this point brings me to an observation I have had over time, that as Gambians, but maybe it's because we lack a national ideal or a national mindset, a national whatever you want to call it. But because it's like Gambians, you wonder, somebody is on this side today, and tomorrow they are on that side, and the other day, depending on where their personal interest lies.
Value system.
So this thing you say, I'm beginning to relate, because today somebody will stand for justice against a particular thing. Tomorrow, because it is political or tribal or family, you want to now compromise what your stance is.
You know, if you understand the history of this country, you will know that we were set up to fail. Why? Gambian Muslim Alliance, People's Protectorate Party. Even UP of PNI was not only a Wolof party, but a Salum party, predominantly. So we have defragmented ourselves to the smallest denominator possible. So it has proven difficult for us as a people to have a national ideal and a national identity. And that, if we want it, it's not the political class that's going to give it to us, because dividing us is to their personal advantage. Therefore, it's the schools, the mosque, the church, the home that should begin to be the game changer of this country. If not, we will forever be a country of mediocre people. We will be a country that is left behind and relegated in the boondocks of development and prosperity.
The acceptance of our society that when you get to power is to better yourself is obviously, as from your point, something that is contributing to us being where we are. And is there any possibility that something can be done about this?
Yes.
What if we have a leadership that comes in and just says, I am here to develop my country, and no matter what amount of pressure the public or the expectations of the people that they are here to better themselves, but you set an example in taking the nation in the way it should go, put it in the right structures.
I hate to name names, but I'm going to name a name today. Why do you think up to now Halifa Sallah, Honorable Halifa Sallah of Serekunda, cannot have a critical mass of Gambians to follow him? Because his ideology don't put butter on a lot of people's bread, number one, and what he's saying is not foreign, but it doesn't yield dividends to people. So therefore, he is preaching to a choir that's not listening. So that's why I said it's not about having the right political leaders. It's about having a population that is well equipped with the relevant value systems. And these value systems come from the schools, the church, the mosque, the home, and the community. So we need to start fixing Gambia bottom up, and don't worry about our presidents and our political class. They are a product of who we are, and they know better than us.
Well, at this rate, then no matter how much time and thought is put into values, at the rate we are going, the politicians feel they could come into political leadership and do whatever they want to do. Then by the time the children that you've taught values and all that come up, are they going to have anything that they could begin to build? Yes. When it comes to development?
Yes, you know, we are building a nation. We're not building a day.
Yeah.
If you're building a nation, America is over 260 years old by now.
I agree.
And the face of America, I'm not talking about color, but the ideology of America has changed progressively over time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, forget about Donald Trump, but in general terms, America has changed. Mm-hmm. Gambia is still a young nation, and a nation in search of an identity and her position in the global space. So therefore, what our responsibility today is not to build a Gambian for tomorrow, but is to build an ideology that Gambia will be premised on. And that's not for me and you to see, but it's for me and you to grow the seeds. And that's what we need, and that's where we need to focus our energies. I think we're too temporal. We're looking at quick fix. Gambians have been firefighting from 1965 to date, rather than building a country with a program, master plans, and a horizon. We don't have a horizon, we don't have a master plan, we live by the day, and that's what we need to change.
All right, coming to, now you are taking us maybe 20 years down the line, or from now to 20 years, and looking at development, what it would be for our children. But right now, we have to sow the seeds. We have a people's representative, or representation called the National Assembly or the Parliament. Now, this group of people are supposed to ensure that things are working for the country. Now, I'm sure very soon, in fact, I've been asking why is it that Gambia has to wait till December to present a budget to the National Assembly. I know other countries have gone ahead and the budget is being debated. Why should we have to wait till December? But we have this National Assembly, that's an oversight body that is representing the people. What is it they could do to at least ensure that they safeguard the little or whatever it is, so for the development of the country? And how is it, what roles should they continuously play? And the other thing is, I have had arguments or concerns that maybe our National Assembly is incapacitated. Our National Assembly is not highly esteemed and things like that. What is it that can be put in place to ensure that we have a robust assembly that keeps the government in check?
Well, that keeps the executive
in check,
because the National Assembly is part of the government.
The executive.
You see, I think in Gambia we have a problem. The problem we have is comprehension. Simple as that, we don't understand. The role of the National Assembly is nothing but oversight and lawmaking.
All right.
They are the watchdog and the collective guardian, the guardian of our collective conscience as a people. So their role in this society is to put a check to the excesses of the executive and all judiciary. Yeah. That's why it's called the People's House, and they are the direct representatives of the people. And the people of the Gambia, mind you, are sovereign, but the people who represent us don't understand their role, and what they lack in terms of capacity, they're not willing to outsource. Today, if the Ministry of Finance takes a budget to the House, nothing is stopping the National Assembly to hire experts on fiscal matters to look diligently into that budget and tell them this is not acceptable based on trends of the past. They have bloated this area, that area. Travel is what you call a recurrent item that yields no dividend to society. Equally, rent and paying for embassies is a recurrent expenditure that doesn't pay much to society. How can you streamline this? How can you reduce this? But we don't have that because people who don't know tend to think they know, and in the process, society suffers.
There is this concern from bodies in civil society, especially so in the sense that, I don't know whether you know this, there is a seeming policy at the National Assembly that when you invite parliamentarians, National Assembly members, to your workshop, there is a minimum amount that you have to give them as transport reform. And it becomes quite an embarrassing situation when it comes to dealing with donors and telling donors, this is what our National Assembly members, would it be better for the National Assembly to have a pay raise so that they could get rid of this so-called policy? Because it's detrimental. You are the people's representative, but yet you are being hard to reach because you demand a certain level of transport reform to be capacitized.
You have to understand one thing. In life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. The National Assembly members are lawmakers. The monies that are spent in our budget is called an appropriation bill. They are the people who pass it. If they don't pass it, it's not law. If it's not law, no one can spend. So if they want a pay rise, no one should bring it forth but themselves, because they are the lawmakers.
But people like you can advocate for them.
Why should I advocate for them if they wanted to be public officials to the point, elected officials to the point, lawmakers? Come on, then they are not fit for purpose.
No, but obviously they might be afraid of the backlash.
Afraid? Well, you see, leadership comes with consequences, and I believe Gambian public servants need to be well remunerated, because we expect the best and the brightest amongst us to be serving the public, honestly, not to be a dumping house for people who believe they're not employable.
Honestly, I mean, I have been considering starting a campaign for a pay rise for National Assembly members. It's not done for us to talk to our donors, and our donors are telling us that your people's representative, you mean you have to give them this amount for them to attend a workshop? You know, and it doesn't, and obviously, let's call a spade, like you said, they are the lawmakers, they are the oversight body. So if a National Assembly member is earning less than a minister, that you are supposed to oversee what he's doing, earning less than the judiciary. And just to talk about that, I've not had the National Assembly hold the judiciary, call on the judiciary to check them.
I think...
Are they just concentrating on the executive?
No, honestly, the problem in the Gambia, we have to agree that we have a problem. The problem is the best and the brightest amongst us in this society don't want to be in public life. So therefore, who are the people in public life? People who otherwise would not have a space to play. So don't blame those people. They put their hands up and give themselves up. You refuse to, I refuse to, and many like you and me refuse to. So you know what? This is what we bargained for. Let's take it.
Maybe we have not refused. Maybe we are just waiting for the right time.
The time is never right.
Well, listeners, the number to call is 446-1193. I'm just getting carried away. It's good to have Young back in the studio. But these are very interesting things. Somebody asked, are we recording these things for posterity? But the lines are open, 446-1193. Welcome, caller. Assalamu alaikum. Salam. Yes, sir. Koto. Yes, sir. Welcome. Yeah.
Sometimes I concur with Jan, but sometimes I think here in the Gambia we have leadership problem.
Okay.
And this leadership problem is the politicians, in my own perspective.
Okay.
Because look at our various political parties. You know, the way that they are pointing fingers between one another among the others. And this is not happening at the leadership in the political party. Why should they not talk to their militants that it is not the way that politics is done? You know, and another thing that I want to talk about that fire you are talking about. I think the fire and rescue services should be involved. Man is not I building so in the Gambia. First of all, I mean at the 5-story or 4th-story. It's a big problem. You come to Banjul even, I see a federal station between 2 compounds.
Yes.
And most of these compounds in Banjul are 18 meters by 20 meters. And in most of these compounds, you have 2-3 kitchens inside the compound. And I mean outside compound, kitchens in Banjul. And you see where the tanks are and the kitchen is less than 10-12 meters.
What a shame.
That is a timing bomb in ready.
Thank you.
And even the way that our flammable liquids are transported. Like this Nigel tank essence, dual kuchi fere, the bole ko nini.
Need to cigarette.
Machine fere bange tank, the pagere, anything could happen within a short time and things like that.
Wow.
About 2 months ago, I went to the pilgrimage to Mexico. When I was going, the way that I found the airport, it was terrible. And I don't know who was doing this renovation at the airport at that time. And actually today I heard in another radio on the newspaper review that even the toilets at the airport are overflowing from the discovery and discovery toll again. And these people were frustrated. That's why they are coming out to talk about this thing.
Yeah.
And it's very sorrowful. And if we are starting in the peak of the tourist season, so we have problems within this. Most of the time, you hear the minister or people working at the DTV talking tourism, destination, destination, but what do Gambia have to offer now to tourism? Sometimes it is blah, 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 blah. So they may see markets. Don't to have you before we do. Wrap around, you go to various cultural centers and museums or heritage in this country. Even access road to those places is a big problem.
Okay, thank you.
Into current affairs, the way that Gambia has been rated recently, they are the cause for concern. I think we have to take this back to our leaders who are the leaders, the political from the presidency down. And as said by Nyang, each and every one of us has a role to play. But we have to start from somewhere. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nyang, political leadership well, I don't know whether it's more prominent, but it's something that people look up to. So there is also need that certain things that happen in the political space, the political leadership are able to address aptly, so that the young people also can learn.
Well, I guess you guys didn't listen to what I said or my proposition. All I'm saying is the Gambian psyche is collectively expecting the political leadership to be different from the rest of our society must be very folly. That's why I'm saying if we really want change, we need to build a new Gambian. And who's going to build that new Gambian? The home, the community, the mosque, the school, and the church. And then we will have leaders who can rise up and meet the expectations of what you want. But today, our leaders are being picked from the bigger group called Gambians, and we all agree that we, the Gambian people, have an issue. So how are we going to expect them to be different from me and you?
But yeah, something as embarrassing as airport toilets leaking and overflowing, as keeping the airport environment clean, unkempt, that tourists will come and see what we have. It's something that should not be difficult for disciplinary action to be taken. People that are supposed to ensure that there is semblance of sanity around us.
Not when one of your biggest is Gambia, no problem.
No, that was before.
No,
I think we've graduated.
That mentality hasn't changed, and it's that mentality that breeds and fosters the mediocrity. Look, in any other country, when you see what's happening here, the NEA and others people would have been fired by now. But you know, it's normal. The normal in Gambia is abnormal anywhere else in the world.
So what is difficult about taking disciplinary action and fire the people? Maybe when you fire once, twice, people will adjust.
That is when you see wrong in what they're doing. But the abnormal is the normal in our society.
All right, we have a call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
General.
Can you turn down the volume of your radio? We're having some echo.
Okay.
All right.
How are you all?
Fine, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm with young guy with all what he said. That's good. Because running away from your stance don't solve the problem.
Okay.
So what he said that we start from somewhere, it means from the home, from society, it's collective.
Okay.
So if we all know our rights and our stance, then we will know where we go.
Okay.
But if not, never. Talking to the incident of this fire, I want to know what is the use of disaster management here in the Gambia. And secondly, maybe I would advise Gambians to try to be voluntary.
Okay.
Like this disaster management will open an institute whereby they take volunteers of all public works, whereby any disaster, they could just support the fire service or in the society or anywhere it has to be.
Okay.
I think we need more to carry on. If not, Gambia will be thinking, and if the people run away from their stand, we will suffer. And like you say, let they use like a mashed potato, you know.
Okay.
Someday, you know what I mean?
All right.
You know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The issue of volunteering is good, but volunteering must be guided. We've seen fire incidents where people felt that they could go and help. I remember one time I had a story of a guy, there was this explosion in the house and he took this gas bottle and was running out and the thing exploded and he eventually died. He was trying to, help, but, if people are to volunteer, they must also allow themselves to be trained how to do what to do and when to do it.
35 years, I was once a Red Cross volunteer, and the likes of Alpha Jallo, Alassane Senghor, and the late Sheikh Lewis, and even Wulabaji taught us well about volunteerism, and that's what we need to inculcate and put back in the schools.
Okay.
But then again, Gambia has a societal problem. The school, the mosque, the church, the home, and the community. That's where we can fix it. Then we can have better politics.
Okay. All right. Good evening, caller.
Hello?
Yes, good evening and welcome to Straight Talk.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, go ahead. We're listening.
Yeah, how are you?
Fine.
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm quite, I really developed interest in your program, especially Mr. That man, I really follow his program. Gambia needs kind of people like him. To have such a program on the talk show.
Okay.
I'm really commending him for what he's doing, extremely more than nation building.
Okay.
Thank you.
I forget, he was one time the working for the OIC.
Yes.
Relation, I don't know, public relation.
Okay.
I forget his surname.
Mr. Njai, Nyang Jai.
Mr. Nyang.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, it's Nyang Jai, yes.
Hello?
Yes,
we're hearing you.
Well,
I think
thank you so much. You're quite right. And I think duty and honor to country is very sacrosanct, and we all need to do something. You don't have to give your country money, but you need to give your country your effort, your ideas, and your time. And we will continue to do.
Okay, Mr. Jai, you talk, it seems maybe there is no hope, but the mere fact that you are still in this country, for me, gives me an indication that you still believe in Gambia. You still believe there is some good in this country, and you still believe there is a contribution you can make and to turn things around.
I believe in Gambia. I believe that this country will rise from these doldrums it found itself in. But we need to be looking at short-term measures to our long-term problems. Gambia has long-term structural social problems. And these social problems culminate to the person and people we are collectively. Meaning we're very mediocre, we're very substandard, we're very indifferent to bad practices, i.e. parking cars in the wrong place, using the wrong lane, throwing trash, going to an office and demanding what you know you don't deserve. So if we want to change that, it has to be bottom up.
In interviews, and he talked about one of the things that was key for the coalition government is to come up with a national forum where they will look at medium, short and long-term goals and plans for the country. Would that help looking at having the nation sit together and have a discussion as to what are our long-term goals, what are our medium-term goals, what are our short-term goals?
I love Halifa Saleh. I like his outlook, but as a communicationist, I will tell him one thing. His work gets lost in translation because he does what you call an overkill. The overkill is when you want to talk to people, don't talk down on them. When I mean talk down on them, don't be thinking you are teaching them. You need a conversation. And as a communicationist, I think that's where he falls short. Okay. He tends to educate people rather than having a conversation. Great guy, great intended, a well-meaning Gambian who has done over and beyond what you should expect out of a citizen, but he need to reposition his messaging and delivery systems.
Just today, we were having a discussion, and somebody said that if in leadership you're doing the same thing over and over and there is no change, for instance, you are in opposition and you have the same message and you're not getting the confidence of the masses, then maybe there is something wrong with your leadership style.
Yes and no. Yes, to an extent. No, he is a Gambian who is ahead of his time, and his value system is different from the average Gambian's value system. And I'll tell you, if you look at Greek philosophy, the likes of Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, they were all seen as outcasts within the societies they came from, because the message people were very foreign and people just couldn't accept it. Halifa is one of those.
But what is wrong with trying to adjust? Okay, let's take this call.
Hello?
Yes, good evening, welcome.
Hello?
Yes, good evening and welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, we're hearing you, go ahead.
I'm fine, how are you?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, good. I'm just trying to contribute to the program.
Go ahead.
I think it's a fantastic program.
Thank you.
Mr. Nyanja, you are doing very well.
Thank you.
As one of the callers did say, I would agree and disagree with you on few lines of your conversation.
Okay.
Basically, in terms of what you mentioned about leadership, I think leadership is very critical in the whole affairs of the running, whether we will be successful in the Gambia or not. Leadership would be very relevant in it. Okay, you talked about the bottom-up approach. The bottom-up approach is very important. But if you go into institutions, you talked about airport toilets overflowing. You know, I have a managing director. They have a deputy managing director, and they have various managers. Are they not seeing that? You know, are they not seeing that? I think that's leadership problem. You know, we tend to blame the politicians and the political leaders, but we have various leadership. If you go to Ports Authority, for example, it's only one machine working there, you know, the whole of these days, in terms of shifting containers.
Okay.
Should we have only one machine working in ports? You know, what type of leadership do we have in ports? You know, so leadership is very critical, and I'm quite passionate about that. If leaders in these institutions are not fit to run the institution, leave. Call a quit, and then the Gambia move on.
Thank you.
So we need to move on from this level.
Okay.
You know, it's a nasty stuff to get toilets running in airport, and then you know we have managing directors there, and
Okay.
we are hearing this kind of thing in the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a nasty stuff to see only one machine running at ports.
Okay.
You know, where are the managing directors? And
Right.
if you go into so many other institutions, these things are happening there.
Okay.
It's high time we start talking about this. If these people are not fit to do their job, they should move out.
Thank you.
And let the responsible people pick up their job.
All right.
Thank you. They will not move out.
No, but see, what he said is very critical. You look at Martin Luther King. He was not a politician, but he changed the face of a nation.
True.
So that's why I believe, and a lot of readers in leadership believe that it's not only political leadership. Social leadership contributes toward how the political leaders behave. Generally, politicians take cue from the very societies that they lead. You look at Donald Trump. He is appealing to a base today that is very irrational, but yet still it's a base. He understands that, and he feeds them what they want. So we, the people, from the grassroots, the home, the school, the church, the community, needs to build a new Gambian and challenge our leadership.
But like the caller said, surely these people are not going to just decide to quit, because Gambians don't have not many Gambians will just quit because things are not working in their institutions. So there must be some appraisals that should be done that should take these things into consideration.
Now, you see, we've been talking immediately after this government was constituted. The first thing they should have done was to have an immediate public service reform, civil service reform, where performance-based indicators, KPIs, would have been in place to score and measure people, reduce the size of the civil service, pay them well as they would have been paid in the private sector, then the best and the brightest amongst us will come in.
All right. Well, we don't have much time. Mr. Njai, I'm just going to give you a few seconds to round up, and then we will close for the evening.
Well, I think if each and every Gambian take an introspective look at self, before we start pointing out, let's point inward and say, what can I do to make Gambia a better place? Then once we do that, we look at our leadership, the imams, the pastors, the teachers, and the homes. How can we create better Gambians? Then we will have better political leaders to emerge out of that mix.
Well, listeners, callers, thank you for being there. You have had the message. Let us look at us. Let us take a look at me. Look at yourself. What can you do to better the Gambia? All those in leadership, in public, private institutions, take a look and see what you can do to make Gambia a better place. Till we come your way next week, this is the Straight Talk team saying good evening.
That was a good show.
Woo.